thank you for watching. We've got 2 people watching. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. There's nothing worse than speaking to air and trying your hardest to, be entertaining, be, I don't know, just say what you feel without thinking like it's going nowhere and nothing's. But anyway, we don't do that we just do this because, well, I just do this because I like conversations. I like talking. I like talking about my things that I like, like I mentioned today, we're going to be talking about Babylon 5, Sheridan and stuff. Last night I was able to catch the movie, the new one, which is this one here. Let me just play that so you guys can actually let me know if you can hear it. This is a trailer
News Network special report. 2 years after winning the Shadow War,
to the new Babylon
Captain
animated
John Sheridan,
movie.
president of the Interstellar Alliance, is leaving Babylon 5 for what many expect to be the last time.
I don't need an Interstellar Alliance. You're my universe, Dylan. I love you. A friend of mine once said, the future is all around us, waiting in moments of transition, to be born in moments of revelation. This is just
can you
such
hear
a
me?
moment. Fire this baby up.
You want to join?
Something's wrong. What kind of energy does this facility use?
Tachyons.
Oh, crap. Where the hell am I?
He is unstuck in time, moving between timelines, universes, realities.
The longer you stay out of your own timeline, the more you'll start sliding into parallel worlds.
So how do I fix it?
You have to get back to Babylon 5.
Losing the Shadow War wasn't your fault.
Wait, we lost the war?
On the positive side, at least we have a good view of the show, eh, Sheridan?
This is Babylon 5. We are under attack.
Do you know what a last stand is? You just joined one.
Activate destruct sequence.
Destruct sequence? Are you feeling all right? This isn't just one of those I'm having a bad day things.
I am totally in a mood to blow some stuff up.
Everything ends. I'm not afraid. Bring it.
John?
Stay back!
It's happening again. I'm coming unstuck in time.
Zathras won, but no one listens to Zathras.
You look like someone in need of a friend. Friend.
Right. I was watching it, right? And I had to pause when it got to where Delenn was talking. And I was like, it doesn't sound like Delenn. What's going on here? So I paused the movie, jumped on IMDb, and looked at, I went, hey, what's going on? Looked at the page, and, let me just grab this here, show you. So I'm there and I'm going, what's going on? How do they auto start these things? So I'm looking at the list of people with the voices and stuff, and I'm going, wait, who's Rebecca Reedy? And she's doing the voice, and I'm thinking, what happened to Delenn? What happened to Mira Furlong? Sorry about that. I just pressed the wrong button and clicked myself out. Apologies. Hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, that was stupid. Like I said, it just doesn't go right sometimes. So I need to put that list there. Right. So who is Rebecca Reedy, right? So I'm like, because I am a huge Babylon 5 fan, and I'd forgotten that Delenn, aka Mira Furlong, had passed away 2 years ago. And so I, was a bit saddened watching the movie and, you know, right from the start, and just like, you know, and that, I think for me, that kind of made me a bit step away from it going into it. But then I kind of, because her character is very important to the whole Babylon 5 show. For the, you know, she's appears from the start, and she's there for almost every episode of Babylon 5, even the Lost Tales. She's there, if I remember right. Lost Tales came out a few years ago, and you know, she's like your Princess Leia if you're in Star Wars, right? But so much more here, because this is a woman who is a total alien, yet there is a transition that she goes through where she becomes human as well. She's Membari, and she comes from a race called Memba, right? Membari, planet called Memba. And so she, you know, she's got all this, she comes from a secret order and all the stuff you find out about her, and you fall for this character and you become, you know, I've watched it twice, to be honest, right? I watched the first time just, you know, the five seasons, and then the movies or whatever I could get on, because this is when Blockbuster was still around. So this is about 90, gosh, maybe 2001, maybe 2002 when I really got into it. And I didn't even know anything about it because, you know, it had come and gone. It was like in 95, if I remember, it started. So it had come and gone. And for me, you know, coming into it on video, right, VHS, and watching it on VHS, watching all this stuff, you know, fresh, right? It was just like something just new. It was so much more grounded, and then I would look into, you know, a couple of years later when I was down south going through hard times and stuff, I just really got into it. I started reading the books. The like I haven't read. I don't think I've ever read a Star Trek book, but I owned them. I owned the ship files and stuff like that. There's about 5 or 6 like big, huge, you know, thick books. There's paperbacks, there's hardcovers of stories and stuff like that, original tales, you know, and so on. And at one point, I was actually collecting the VHSs, and then also the toys, like the plastic ones that they had put out. And but over sometime, somewhere, I don't know how, but I ended up selling them, and I regret that. And JMS was on JMS, J. Michael Strachzynski, the creator of Babylon 5, right? He talked about it on Facebook. He's been like forever online, like really, really like talking. He's one of those guys who just loves talking to people, a bit like me, right? Talking to his fans and stuff. And I was just thinking, someday I'll be talking to my fans and stuff, right? About this huge universe that I'm building, part of PlungeCast, Plunge Universe, which has to do with me bringing where I'm getting to with how Babylon 5 ties into what I'm creating. Someday that you guys out there in the universe, right, and the, you know, internet and all around the world will go, so how did you create this? Why? What was the influence about that? And what so and so? What was about that character? Why did you do that character that way? And so on, right? Which he does, right? I think I was on like USA Today or Comcast or something, and I had conversations about all the stuff. When I had conversations with people when it came to, like, there was a show they did, if I remember, called what was it? It's here somewhere. Was it Crusade? Yeah, it was Crusade, right? So they'd done Crusade, and let me pop that up there so you can see it. So they'd done Crusade 4 years or so on after, and this had to do with like some of the characters there. Excuse me. So yeah, so it's a couple of years later they did Crusade, and I didn't realize JMS had done it, and so I said, man, I wonder who wrote this. It doesn't have the same feel. Like, who was writing this? And then I found out, like, yeah, it was one of the guys responded to me and said, oh, it's JMS, you can check it out, it's all this. And I'm like, oh, man, yeah, it needed some more. There was something missing in that, and I don't know what the situation was, whatever. But I learned, because when I finished this, I went down to South Island in Chicago to study for my digital filmmaking course, right? And so I was down there. It was a real hard time, and we're struggling, and trying to find work and stuff. And so all I was doing was watching all the Babylon stuff, and I bought some set of books, which was the best of I think it had to do with the Bester Alfred Bester series. It was like about how he came to be who he was. And if you know if you know Babylon 5, Alfred Bester is one of the key people. It's kind of and he's based around the writer Alfred Bester, if I remember right, who was a sci-fi writer, and it was played by, where are we? Oh gosh. Where's Bester? It was from Star Trek, and I actually met him. That's the thing. I actually saw him in person and asked him a question here in New Zealand, right? Let me just get to the people. Come on, move along. Right, where are we? Come on. I hate it when I forget things like this. That's all part of the head injuries, right? It's like memory just doesn't work well. It gets worse over time, and as you get older. Just looking at here, this Harlan Ellison was also a psychop. So, gosh, maybe I'll just do a search. Hold on. Sorry for this, guys. Alfred. That's all. Right. Stars My Destiny. One of the great books. Character. Why don't we get character? Hold on. Keywords. Character. No. There we go. Alphabet titles. 3. Right, let's go see. Eraser Time. There we go. You guys would know this guy straight away. Right. Where is he? I just having a problem remembering his name. This is terrible. Walter Koenig. All right. Chekhov. There you go. Chekhov. Right. So Chekhov was here, if I remember, with his wife, and about must have been like 2019, 18. It was a really cool thing because I got to ask the question. We got to see him. This is the first time I actually met a Star Trek person. I actually have met an Stargate Atlantis person, Amanda Tapping, and got a photo of her right over there. But but I got to meet, and I actually admire her quite a lot. That's why I actually paid $40 to go actually have a photo with her. And I was like always nervous, really bad nervous, smiling hard out, unable to talk because, excuse me, I'm falling off my chair. But maybe I should get one of those really cool, computer chairs that everybody else has. So I was there with my sister's family. My niece and nephews were there, and it was such a cool thing. I got to stand, I put my hand up, I got the mic, I got to ask him, and I said, like, I asked him something about, I don't even remember the question. All I remember, he was a nice man, and he was not like George Takei at all, right? Who I really think is I'm not even say it, but Walter Koenig was up there, and I was able to ask him a Babylon 5 question, and it felt you know, like connecting to the universe that I love so much, you know, because as I was saying, in 2002, we went down, or was it 2003? 2003, like mid 2003, went down to do my film course and was having a really hard time, real difficult time. And so I was just watching it, and I bought the book, like the tree book about whoever, I can't remember who wrote it, but I actually eventually ended up selling it because, of course, you know, needed the money. I sold a lot of things, even a snowboard. I never got to go snowboarding. I won a snowboard. I bought 2 V drinks, right? 2 cans energy drinks, just to be able to win something, and I actually won it. When I came back home, got a, you know, phone call saying, yeah, you won. And 2 years later, I'm selling it because I need the money, and I only got $120 for it, if I remember right. You know. Anyway, but so I ended up, like, I read the book. I was like, wow, you know, I really got into the character, talked about how he came to be, all about the cycle, right? The cycle are one of the key parts of Babylon 5, which is like, you know, these guys who can read your mind, and they are the, you know, they're like the psych police. You know, it's kind of like that Philip K. Dick book, which was made into a movie by starring Tom Cruise, if I remember right. You know, future crime, right? It's like people can read your mind and stuff, and you know, so you can stop the crime from happening. And so these guys can read your mind, but they're also villains under these, and there's you know, they got roles. There's villains, there's good guys. Lita is amazing. The character of Lita is freaking awesome in this, and you know, she's all, and it's just such a great, you know, like, it was so great to be able to, you know, meet him and talk to him, and you know, oh, that's Talia. Hold on, Andrea Thompson. Talia, if I remember right, she's also a psycho character, you know, and there's so many great actors in this. And the other thing I just noticed here was that Bruce Boxleitner, you know, they got as many people for this to do the voiceovers for the movie as possible. And I remember, like, reading what JMS was talking about, how when they did this, they asked all the voice, you know, all the actors in the show who are still alive, that would it be okay if they could do it. And he actually asked them if that, like, would it be okay if we went on with this when they passed away, and they all agreed, yeah, we could, you know, we should do it, we should honor them. And there's some really great moments in the animated movie, right, where it's kind of like paying homage and honoring the ones who have passed away. There's this really amazing moment in the end, you know, and then there's also a moment, you know, in the third act, and then there's all these little pieces of nugget, right, that you get in this that are like just fan service. And in a way, that's what's missing in a lot of pop culture these days, is that people are out, like studios and actors out here, they don't care about fans. They don't care about the actual property. And you know, when this was coming out, I was kind of worried that, like, okay, it's going to be the modern, right, for modern audience. That terrible 2 words that makes, you know, as a fan, make you think, yep, this is just going to be another piece of trash that dishonors the memory and the work that's gone before, done by great people to make these shows live and be amazing for generations and for decades to come. You know, that these shows will be honored and respected by future viewers because it's been done with so much love and care. You know, I'm looking at this, right? This is my Star Theory. I paid something like about $60, which was very cheap, right? For the model kit. This is like a, let me get rid of this here. You can see a bit better. So this is a Star Fury. This is Sheridan's, if I remember right, Star Fury. And this is hand painted by one of my best friend, who's just opened a store, by the way, here in Whangarei called Card Merchant Whangarei, which is part of a franchise. But my three friends, right, got together and bought a franchise store because they love cards and they love tabletop games and stuff. And that's the other thing I'm going to talk about today is tabletop games, right? Board games. So, and also I'm holding off to these things that I haven't opened up yet. There's 3 of them, and there is a whole bunch of other figures that I got this week. So hang around. That's coming, right? So it looks like I'm going to be on my own today. So hopefully you can put up with me for the next couple of next hour or so. So for me, my passion for comics has now got me creating comics, creating characters, creating, figures for it, and and getting people from all around the world involved with what I'm doing, as well as local. And then when you have someone come across out there and basically say, well, don't care. I don't care how much you love this property. I don't care how much you love this stuff. We're just going to crap all over it. I'm going to put my own thing into it. Even though I never created it, I wasn't even around when they created it. I wasn't even a thought, didn't even exist. My parents didn't even exist. But you know what? I'm going to take this and I'm going to put my own thing into it. And that sort of like, that makes me so angry, right? And it makes me feel, annoyed. And I want to just like, hold on, let me just go back to this. All right. So here's something that's going on that's a big controversy right now. And it has to do with this, right? It has to do with Snow White. And everybody's jumping on it. And on in 2 days, right? About this time, in 2 days. It'll be Sunday for me, but it'll be Saturday for you guys because it's Thursday for you guys in the US. It's Friday here in New Zealand, and it's 12 o'clock. So around, I think if I remember right, it's around about 10 or 11 New Zealand time, which is about 5 or 6, 7 US. I'm going to have Paulie the Latino Slant on, and he's been talking about this as well, and he's had some very, bad things in Discord being said about her and about the movie, right? Now, the controversy isn't, for me personally, isn't about her acting in it. The controversy is about what she says about her role in it. As you all know, and I watched an hour of this last night, like the other day, of Snow White, the original animated series from 1937. Now, if you know the history, and I've watched a whole lot of podcasts and stuff and all that stuff from lots of great and more important people. As I've said, my memory is really bad because of the 6 or 7 or 8 head injuries I've had and concussions I've had over the years. It started when I was a little kid, about 6, was the first fall. It actually cracked my skull and skin, and I remember my mum and my aunt holding me while my mum stitched it with a needle, like an actual sewing needle. And I can remember the color of the thread. It was black. Right, 6 years old. My mum, no anesthesia, dude. This is Fiji. 6 years old, right? My mum taking a needle and threading that, my skin together because I tripped and cracked it. I don't know which area, if it was here or here, on a rock about this big or something. That's all I can remember. while I was running, past mango trees to my grandma's house, or great grandmother on my granddad's side, and my grand uncle, I guess. And yeah, and I tripped and fell, right? I was so excited. And I was a very lively kid, as all kids are, but I think over the time, after I think about 11 or 12, I became very, aggressively excited. So now I forgot what I was going to say. So anyway, so watching the move, like the animated series, it's like so freaking amazing. Like one of the first, I think there was another one they said that was in Japan somewhere or some other country that actually done it, but this was the first American or worldwide recognized successful animated movie. And there is so much gold and so much passion. Like I was watching each little creature, there was like so much, because the story of course is about step, and I don't like the word step because I have a stepfather, but I hardly ever use him as say stepdad or stepfather. I say dad. And this is because of, like because of all these shows, stories that have like step parents being bad and stuff like that. And so, and doing bad things or whatever. And I sort of have always sort of went, no, I don't like using that word with my dad because my dad is great. Not always have I thought that, right? Kids, when you're growing up, you don't. Even in adult, I didn't think that. But when you come to recognize that you have parents that, if you have good parents, right, that care for you, it's not them that needs to change, it's you, because as you grow older, you realize that they meant well and you took it the wrong way because you just were so rebellious or just you were against anything. And it's because, things happen and you sort of like adults, I always bulk against, authority and people who try to force things. I'm always going to speak against that. It's just in my nature to go, nah, I'm not putting up with that, and it doesn't matter. I've walked into fights between people and just grabbed the one who's been hurt and just hug, grabbed them and said, you stay with me. And I'm watching everybody else just trying to cheer some guy to beat this guy up. I'm the guy like that, right? Not worried about myself. And so when I watch somebody just crap all over, that's the nicest way I can put that, on something as great as Snow White, that sort of for us as kids growing up was so magical. It's like when they crept over Peter Pan, I was like, I remember being at my friend's house, and his younger brother, my friend's younger brother, was being put to bed by his mum, and she would read Peter Pan to him, right? So I remember what it felt like to be able to be with a white family, because in my family we didn't kind of have that. I know we did that when because I was too old by that time, right? I was about 12, 10 by the time my little sister came along. I think it was like 10 or 8. And so I'd gone past that reading to sleep to bed, right? But I watched my dad and my mom, especially my dad, read to my sister and my brother, and as they went to sleep, stories. But I remember what with Peter Pan, and I did never in my mind said, well, it wouldn't be awesome if Peter Pan was black or Indian or Chinese. Never in my mind did I think Wendy would be great if she was some other race. Never. Because all I knew was I was looking at a book, imagining this great place, imagining this, the Lost Boys and all these things, and this Neverland and all that. And then his mum just reading to him and him being excited and go to sleep. And that's like about 82, maybe 81, 1980. I remember all these little memories because it's part of things I love. But there's memories I just don't have of things that happen, right? And so that's sort of my tie-in to pop culture in that way, or stories. And stories endear us to each other because you go, hey, did you watch Star Trek last night? What did you think of it? what did you think of that character? Or so on. Oh, did you watch the Game of Thrones last night? Man, that was really cool, wasn't it? And so you're kind of like conversing on the universal level where you're connecting to people through stories, through entertainment, through media, through books, in a way that becomes so much more than just, just something there. And so over time, that connection to that character, that, that book, that film, that TV show, like, I can remember watching Alien, right? At, at Catholic boarding school, where I thought I'd never get to watch TV. And yet there I was, probably about 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock, watching Sunday Horrors or something. And there's us older students there, with our blankets, in the entertainment room, watching Aliens and really enjoying it. That was my first proper time. There was, I think the second time I actually watched a horror movie. Idle Hands was the first time. And I watched that with my mom, cuddling up to her, on the settee, watching, like this, whenever romance scenes came up, right? Knowing I was watching, but I was like making sure that she thought I was closing my eyes to it, and so you connect with this, and I connect with Ripley. So I never thought Ripley should be Indian when watching it. And this is what I have a problem with. I got to see myself in this movie. I have to see myself. Make your own then. That's my response. Make your own, create your own. I was like, I would love to, write a Marvel character, but you know what? I don't want to write a Marvel character. I want to create my own. I have the intelligence and as a human being, because human beings are the only creative species in the world. Every other species is just making things to survive, right? The badger builds a dam, right? Is it the badger, right? To stop water from crushing their home, whatever, or there's some amazing things. If you will look at nature, man, like I love looking at nature. I have like for the last 5 years, I've always had garden, like when I've lived on my own, even before I got married and stuff, and I'm divorced now, right? But for the last 5 years, I've had a balcony garden. I built it myself, using timber poured out from the next apartment, right? The landlord was basically pulling it out, said, "I'll take that timber, and I went, cut it up, built my own little, I think it was about 3 meter long, 2.5, 3 meter long, foot wide, foot wide, foot down, square, whatever length, garden, whatever they call it. Anyway, planter, yeah. And I planted all these seeds and stuff in it, and I watched all them grow. And I used to be a cigarette smoker, right? So I'd sit there, drink my coffee in the morning and just watch the plants, watch the butterflies come and land on it, on the silkweed, right? So watching the monarchs come, lay eggs, and watch the eggs form into caterpillars, form into cocoons, and then fly out. Some of them, I had to actually bring the caterpillars inside and put them in a little container, right? Put them in a little container like this, because the leaves where they were was too far away from where they were. And so I put them in a little container, take the lid off or whatever, and put them on a little tissue in here, put the silkweed leaves in here, and put the little, cocoons on there. Butterflies on there, and then watch them go into cocoon. And then just after they're in the cocoon, take that outside in the garden and watch them fly away. When you watch things like that, there's a connection to seeing how the natural order of things in the world work, right? They come, the butterfly comes in, lays her egg, becomes, it becomes a butterfly, cocoon, or whatever, a little egg goes, as I said, it goes all that. And so you connect and you see how the natural order of things work. And it's so awesome. I implore you guys to watch, have a garden, plant a flower or whatever, to just watch it, water it every day and watch how they grow and how you look after it. If you water it too much, it bogs down. I had to clean that up because rats gone into it and stuff, and the wood got rotten after 5 years because it's interior wood. It's not meant for you outside. And so I'm going to get some plastic bins and I'm going to carry on, right? And the great thing about that is that I started planting cherry tomatoes, and I was able to give seedlings away, lots of seedlings away, and tomatoes, to people over the last 5 years. And the store-bought plants didn't grow, my mum said. The ones I gave her from my garden, because I didn't put any chemicals or anything on them, they grew. Her own, like the ones she paid a couple bucks for, didn't grow, but the ones she got from me grew. And I was able to give away to so many people seedlings because, you know, I saw my plants, you know, whenever there was like a split in a ripe fruit, I'll just squash it and back into the seed, into the soil, and it'll grow. So what has that got to do with pop culture, right? When you watch all that happen, you kind of like endear yourself to that, and you kind of like go, wow, this is how things come to be, you know. And you think about, like, as a creative person, you go, why do I need to see myself in that? What is it in you that needs to go, see me? I need to be seen. And, you know, I don't need to be seen as Deadpool, right? Even though I love Deadpool, I don't want to see my face in Deadpool. But what was amazing about Deadpool, which nobody really had an issue, was that in New York, there are Indian taxi drivers. So what do? They created a character that was endearing, funny, and you could connect with, who was a taxi driver. I have an uncle who's a taxi driver, you know. And for me, I didn't say, oh, I saw myself in him. I saw myself in my uncle in the taxi. No, the character was great. It was funny. It really bounced off, you know, Ryan. Is that right? I hope I said it right. But anyway, and I've watched a lot of his movies prior to him becoming Deadpool, right? And even after. And so I didn't need to see myself as Deadpool. I don't need to see myself as Wolverine. These characters work on their own. I don't need Wolverine to be Asian, right? I don't need him to be black. I don't need him to be Indian, South, North, East, West, whatever Indian, right? I don't need him to be anything apart from what he is, right? I just need him to be Logan, right? 200 years old, right? Growing up in a farm, right? All that stuff, you know, on a plantation or whatever it was. I can't remember the origin story properly. But I don't need to see myself in anything out there. If I do, I will create. And this is the emptiness that I see in all pop culture media right now in the last 10 years that's come out, that the desire to see yourself in a character that's already established. It's disgusting. It seems impure. It seems unnatural to go, I will change this character that we have loved, that fans have loved all over the world, to something else so that I can feel represented in it. And that's why I get upset and angry about this when I see this happen to things I love, right? I don't want to see somebody who doesn't belong in that character to play that character, right? Just for the sake of representation, right? I don't want to see race swap characters. I despise them. I think they're horrible. Doing that is horrible. You're not endearing anybody to it. You're not serving the fans, the customers who pay money to go buy toys at whole years later, or even at the same time, for a lot of money, right? To be able to see that, to be able to say, hey, you know, let me just get rid of that. We'll get back to that. To see that happen, right? I don't need to see Jakarta. I mean, I can't remember. Is it Lando? It's Lando, right? I don't need to see Lando as an Asian. I don't need to see a new movie or a new freaking remake with him as an Asian or a black person. I love Sheridan as Bruce Boxleitner. I like him as a white dude. He works as a white dude. That's what he's created for, right? I don't need to see this person being anything apart from a Danish character, if I remember right, or European character, right? A European person with very fair skin, right? If I want to see her as that, I will go and write a new story, and I'll bring it, and I'll say, this is this character, right? This is Princess so-and-so, a brand new character. And we'll tell a story about her, a new story that will endear the fans to her. And then I will go and buy that toy, and I will talk about how great that movie was because it served the fans and it was creation. As I talked last week about this TV show that came out with it was like from out of Africa, right? That all these animated shorts that's on Disney Plus, right? Even though I hate Disney at the moment, I love that show. And my thought was, like last week, if you watched, is that, hey, why don't they make feature-length stories based on those 10 or 12 shorts they had? I want to know more about those characters. I want to know more about that universe, but they won't do it. They'd rather race swap because, hey, it's a name recognition. We want to torture the fans. We want to say, we got you. See, we can take your beloved things and we can twist them and make you feel twisted and hurt inside and show you how we can do this to you. And you'll just have to accept it. And fans go, no, we won't. We don't have to accept anything from you. We're the ones with the money. You're the one who is making the product. We don't have to put our money on the counter. We can take our money elsewhere. And many have, like me, right? We took our money elsewhere. In a couple months, Disney would have lost $2 billion, right? And that hopefully will teach them more lessons. They've started learning as they sell off, but they still continue. I want to see this movie wiped off the face of the earth, this adaptation, totally just gone. I want it gone. I wanted to remove Wendy, whatever. I wanted them to remove the mermaid movie, whatever. I just want them gone, right? To make them realize that nobody wants that. The only people that want that are the minority of the minority of the minority, but they're very vocal. It's the Peter Dinklages of the little persons, of the little people in the world. It's only Peter Dinklage. It's one person who's ruined everything for those actors who play the dwarves. 7 amazing characters who could have been played by little people, could have made them world famous. Imagine that. You know why Peter Dinklage did that? Because he wants to be #1 little person in the world, right? If he's not in it, because if you really think about people, why people do things, if you really think, why did Peter Dinklage not say that? I mean, why did he say that about, well, this is wrong to have 7 little people in the dwarf suit? Dude, that's existed in cinema for 100 years. Who are you as a person to stop 7 little persons from having a role in Snow White and the 7 dwarfs? Right? The arrogance of this person, just like the arrogance of this Rachel Zeglar person, right? That arrogance, the sheer hubris, as a Star Trek thinks that, right? And we're using that against Star Trek right now, right? As a word says, it says sheer hubris that you could say, do this with Picard. At least season 3 is freaking amazing, right? And finally, they've got something right after so many years, right? I think this whole idea of politicizing characters has gone so far that you can only stop. It's like you have to stop, right? You just can't go any further now. See what they did. See what happened with Indiana Jones. Did you learn a lesson, Disney? Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy. Did you learn the lesson? A beloved character was destroyed, and the customers said, and the fans said, F you. No more. Nuh-uh. Thank you. Like Carmen said, what was not Carmen, sorry. Yeah, it is Carmen, isn't it? Maybe I'm getting it right. Because screw you guys, I'm going home. And that's what we said. That's what we did to you. We basically, as fans, right? I'm an Indiana Jones fan. Right? You know, that's the first movie I remember seeing, if I remember right, Temple of Doom. Maybe, I'm not sure. But my dad and I, Mom, we watched that, right? We're excited. We saw it. We saw an Indian character in a Bollywood movie, a huge Bollywood actor, and a Hollywood thing. See, Indiana Jones wasn't made in Indian. A character was there, right? And it blew him up, right? It just became, everybody got to see a Bollywood actor in Hollywood. And we've seen so many more now, right? You didn't have to race swap Indiana Jones to make that happen, did you? Right? That's why people loved it. And so when you take all our beloved characters like Luke, like Han Solo, Indiana Jones, because you hate men now, it's a thing to hate men now, right? Gotta kill the patriarchy, gotta destroy the heroes that men love. But did you ever ask that there is women who actually love those heroes? Did you actually think that there's actually females who love them? Because I know my mom never said Indiana Jones he should be a woman. No, I never had my mom say that at all, right? And here's what's wrong with all this, is that they think they can get away with it if they continue down this run, and they're learning the hard way, financial way, because money talks. They can say, yeah, we can put all this money talks. At the end of the day, money talks. Nothing matters more to a person than not having money. Because with money, and they can hate capitalism all they want. Oh, capitalism bad, Batman's a fascist, he should sell all his goods and give it to the people. How soon will that run out? How soon will those people mismanage all that? I've seen mismanagement. I've done it myself in the past, right? Where I've thought, I'll put all this money into this business, it'll go thing, and didn't think about a year down the road, and didn't see this, went and paid for a website, and I added to it. Next thing is, website goes from 2,000 to 4,000, right? And we've seen this happen with Disney, right? I would like to see what the actual budgets for these movies are. Talking about budget, when did Hollywood decide that we needed $200 million movies? When did they decide that they need $300 million movies? Right? When I was at film school, I was taught, work within the budget. Try to keep it in the budget. Each line, right, of expenses, there is what you have. Go towards that. And if whatever you're doing is costing too much, find another way to do it without that. So you beg, borrow, steal, right? Not steal, but borrow, until you can stay within that budget, right? And I learned that when I was making my digital film, right? Full-length film, about 15 minutes. This which is quite interesting, because I think hour 25 minutes. Yeah. Talking about which this new movie, right? From Babylon 5, The Road Home, right? It's hour 18 minutes long, right? I was like, oh, it's not a full hour and a half. But that's because the story didn't demand it to be longer. And I was like, that's why I was further 18 minutes. But it's a very tight story. It's really well done. And the more I think about it, the more I love it. Because at first I was like, I saw the trailer, I thought, oh, another time travel story. It's good. But there's some elements on it that's just magic. It's real fan service, right? So that is what's missing from all this crap that's come out of Disney, right? And something that you could feel safe about sitting down, with your niece or nephew and watching a Disney movie, the latest thing, you don't feel that way anymore. I don't feel that way anymore. It's like, what are they going to put in the next? What creepy stuff is going to be in there that's going to like try to, get into the head of my, young niece or nephew and have them questioning who they are as a human being. Kids, you don't want kids to do that, right? You want to make them questioning and thinking when they're about 15, 18, right? We know that their brains don't get formed until about 2022, right? Because I've done these researches, right? Because I used to be a youth worker, right? So, I know when, I had to look into and research about looking after youth and stuff like that. I actually had to look after a child with ADHD, like very, very, very bad ADHD, a little baby, right? 2, 3 years old. And I guess it was 4, maybe he was running around, and I had to learn how to look after an autistic child, a baby of all things, right? And I had to read about that and how to do that. So with all that experience, you learn so much from how children are. And he'd have a one show, I don't remember exactly what it was, and he'd always put it on, that one episode. He'd go up to TV, click, on video, click, and we'd just watch it. Then we'll go outside. He'll be sitting there 1 minute, next thing running around like so much energy, and I'd be like, had to be on him all the time, and so imagine suddenly he's watching a creepy little, Disney show, and that's the only thing he watches, and that goes in his head over and over because he's autistic, right? So he's repeating that thing over and over, and that is going to creep the hell out of him, and it's going to change him. Even though he's already got autism, what else is going to get from watching this movie now? And this is what I feel what is wrong about modern Disney. So getting to Babylon 5, right? Actually, no, I'll leave that one alone for now because I want to talk to Paulie about that Latino slant. And 2 days, Paulie of the let me grab his thing here, his YouTube channel, so you guys can check out his YouTube channel. Paulie the Latino. You can check him out later, and he, he's a pop culture commentator, right? Where are we? Here we go. He's a pop culture commentator, and he brings all that through the Latino, glasses, lenses, what do you want to call it, right? Whereas I just bring it out because I just love, I come out of from a performer on stage, an actor, a writer for stage, an artist, a sculptor, right? All these different things, like comic book writer, all these different things, right? Even a chef. I trained 2 years as a chef, right? So I've worked in restaurants, I've worked in bars, all this stuff. I worked as a salesperson. So I have all these weird experiences over maybe 30 years of my life, from running my own business to working for other people, working with franchises, all these experiences over that time. 30 years of, I started working when I was like about 16. And, going into 17. And that's, working for myself, right? Earning wages for myself, renting and paying for board, and all that stuff. Cooking for myself, and all. I love I love having come from a home where my mum taught us as kids straight away to cook, right? Everybody in our family cooks, right? From my little brother to my sister to me to my cousin, to all my cousins, to everybody in our family knows how to cook, right? All the extended family. It's something that, because we saw our granddad do that, right? Our granddad was a chef in our family, well, cook in our family, cooking huge pots of meals for big events like weddings, temple events, and all that stuff, right? And so I have all this weird, learned experiences as well as like lived experiences as well as like experience from others imposing upon myself as well as others I've had mentor me, both religious and non-religious, right? And so I look at a world in a very different light, and I don't put myself out as an Indian first. I just put out myself as me, right? I don't need people to see me as this. I just need people to see me as whatever I'm talking about, and as me as a character, as a my merits and what I've done, my experiences. Because I remember when I was doing film school, and I think it was around about 2005, second year, and my Seattle-based tutor, American tutor, who was doing my film course, and he was our main tutor. He said, like, oh, he played a documentary from a guy called Angry Filmmaker, right? The guy who was and he said, you got to use what you have, right? You got to put yourself out there. And Indian filmmaker, IFM, right? And it took me about 2 years to realize that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be recognized as. I don't want to be recognized as Indian filmmaker. I want to be recognized as a filmmaker. I don't want to be recognized as the Indian comic creator. I want to be recognized as the comic creator, right? And so I don't, I look at everything like just on a level, and I question everything on a level, and I oppose things on a level, right? Sometimes I get it wrong, and I'll, if I get it wrong, honestly, I will apologize. If I don't think I got it wrong, maybe it'll take me time to, work it out that I got it wrong, and I will apologize. And my friends know that, right? That I will apologize if I'm in the wrong, because it just sometimes takes my brain a little thinking process, because I'm always thinking, okay, yeah, I think, no, you were wrong. Sorry, I was wrong. I wasn't thinking straight. And I have great friends, so they know me by now, how I act, and I'm very direct, right? So if I think about something, I'm going to be telling you directly. I'm not going to run around and go, yeah, get it. I'll go, hey, look, this is what I think. So one of the things about Babylon 5 is when I was reading the Alfred Brester series, it really made me think about world building, about backstories, about how characters, their home life, their connection to their environment, which I hadn't really thought about before, because before that I've been a Star Trek from 8-year-old. The moment I saw my first episode, must have been about 1981, maybe. It was on replay here on TV1, I think, or TV2, maybe. Can't really remember that well, but I do know that it really made me connect to I think that's probably what made me really become creative, and to really think about how things are there. Stuff like Fantasy Island, the plane. Imagine that. Who does not like a tattoo? Imagine Peter Dinklage saying, "You can't have a little person there." Where would tattoo be, right? Where would our love for tattoo be? Right? Montalban, I can't remember, Ricardo Montalban, and his character, right? We would not. Why? What if we just had him as a white person? What if we swiped him as a white person now? Right? See what I mean? How bad it is to do that, because you lose what the creative person who came up with it would thought about having as that actor in there. Why? And so the right person for the right job sometimes doesn't work,